Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Thanks for dropping by my weekly workshop, coming to you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. For those new arrivals to our community, the weekly workshop features a compilation of my content from the last 7 days, including, but not limited to, inspiration for would-be side hustlers and full-time giggers, tool and gear reviews, and finding financial and lifestyle freedom through entrepreneurship. And also, if you prefer your content of the video variety, you can find it all at toolmantim.co. Thanks for taking the time to have a listen, and with that, let's dive into this week's edition of the Weekly Workshop. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Sunday night, which means it's time for the latest edition of Talkin' Tools. And tonight, guys, I decided I was going to put together an episode, a session, a chat all about home security and the importance thereof. And the biggest reason I decided to put this together was because this is an area that I could seriously use some improvement. And so I thought, what better way than to force myself to make some improvement than to sit down and have a chat with you guys and share everything I know, and maybe I'll become a little guilty over the things I'm not doing. Now, before we get too far, if you guys wonder why I sound like a 75-year-old smoker, I've been struggling with some sort of throat thing all week. So we will bust through, push through, make this work. And yeah, if it gets too bad, we'll call it early, call it a night early, but I don't think we'll have an issue at all. So welcome, Chicken Hawk. Nice to see you tonight, buddy. I see you. Let's put your tip up first before we get started into anything. So I asked you guys, for those of you listening on the podcast or afterwards, if you're in the replay, feel free to throw this in the comments as well. But his is camera and motion sensor light. So I asked for what everybody's top number one pick for security tip would be. And that is absolutely the case. I've got a bunch of that down the road in my notes tonight, talking about that. But yeah, cameras, huge deterrent. You go back and forth. Some people say you should hide your camera. Some people say you should leave them out there because if you hide them, if you put them out there, they're a deterrent, but they can also be disconnected, knocked over, hurt, whatever. But you know what? One thing you guys are going to notice, doing a lot of research for this episode again, there's so much contradictory information out there, but the important thing is to do something and not nothing. But yeah, so anyway, camera, motion sensor lights, absolutely Hawkins. All right, so I kind of worked my way down through, and I when I put these notes together, my brain goes all over the place, and then I try to group them together in categories. So I figured the first thing I'd talk about when we're looking at covering security for our home, for our vehicle, for our family, the whole works, is doing a security audit. So everybody hates the word audit, the IRS or Canada Revenue. We don't like talking about it. But in this case, basically, and I know it should go without saying, but I basically mean, go around your own property and think like a thief. Think like the nastiest, dirtiest, slimiest, cat burglar thief you can think of, and hi, Pappy Cannoli. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah. So think like a thief, walk around and say, okay, well, that window would be easy to reach. Now, that tree right there, that might be shading. It might be giving that person some security. Just walk around and really think about what are the areas that I probably could beef up this area, or if I wanted to get into this place, what would be the thing that I would do first thing? Now, if you're like me and you're the one who would say be in charge of big old, here we go. Before we go on. Hey, Brian, how are you? Big old doggies get you a few minutes warning. Ain't that the truth? Hey, little Klondike, how are you? Now, I got to say, though, you guys know that I'm a big little dog fan. I got my 4 little Chihuahuas, and there is nothing I can tell you where when the Amazon delivery guy is here before the Amazon guy knows he's here. Hey, Hunter, nice to see you. And they are the absolute best doorbell security alarm I've ever had. But yeah, dogs are incredible. I love it. Yeah. Yes, I say little doggies bark more. Yeah. So there's this really good, actually, there's a few different, over the years on Reddit, I've read a bunch of different ones where former thieves and cat burglars go on and they'll say like this or that is the reason I would or wouldn't go into a home. And of course, dog was always a huge deterrent. And a lot of them said they were more, and I don't mean this like, I mean, yeah, a little dog's only going to nip at your heels, but they were more intimidated by getting caught by a little yappy dog than they were by big dogs. But big dogs are more apt to have you for breakfast, right? So, but yeah, they can be, yeah, some of the absolute best early warning systems that you can have. Now, if you are the person in your family in charge of security and you think, you know what? I'll pat myself on the back. I've got this down. I've done really well. I've got all my little, I did my audit and I think, you know what? I didn't find anything. Well, if you want to find a deficiency or a problem, ask your wife. Say, honey, I'd like you to go around and see what I missed. And I can guarantee you that she's going to find some areas of weakness that you never even thought of. That's the beauty of being married, because they'll remind you when you're wrong, but they'll also remind you when you forgot something for a good instance. Now, Pappy, I like that. So I got a question for you. Place size 13 work boots outside of entry doors. What happens if you're like me and you already wear size 13 work boots? Do I have to get like size 17 and put them out there? But yes, that's a really good deterrent. I like that quite a bit. Maybe, make them look a little dirty and greasy and full of oil and stuff, like one of them hardworking fellers that, knows how to kick butt and that sort of stuff. But yeah, true. Ask my wife. She'll tell you, but yeah. And now here's another one that I started thinking about. I found some info online, but also bring your property up on Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Street View, because holy crap, is there ever a pile of information in the public domain out there. So, after you've done a security audit, walked your property and thought, okay, well, where are the weak points? What can I do here? What can I do there? Go on there, maybe print it out, take a look and say, okay, if I'm a thief, once again, what can I find out in the public domain that's on here, and say, oh, I can see this, or I can see that in my, from this view or from that view, and make sure you take your time and work your way through all the angles, because you know what, no matter what we do, some people are always going to be ahead of us a little bit. Hey, Joseph, how are you? Joseph hit 5,000 subs this week. I was going to leave that to the announcements at the end, but I was too excited for him. I had to share it. So congrats, buddy. He's kicking butt and taking names for sure. I have a couple. Oh, here we go. Let's see what. Hey, Chris, I didn't see you yet. How are you? Says, I have a couple spent shotgun shells sitting. Say that 10 times fast. I have a couple spent shotgun shells sitting on the front porch table. It's a great conversation starter. That's a great idea. Yeah, the girls came home the other day. First door's locked, second dogs, third alarm, fourth AR-15. Yeah. So at the end, I'm going to talk about the last line of defense. And you guys know where I live in the People's Republic of Canada. It's so much different up here. Oh my goodness. Not complaining. You can do what you want. I'll touch on it a little bit later, but you probably know this. Well, maybe you don't, but AR-15 was moved to the prohibited end of things here in Canada just a few months ago. So no one can even legally have them anymore. But anyway, we'll talk about that down the road. So, but yes, locked doors, dogs, alarm, and last line of defense, an AR-15 or something comparable. Absolutely nothing wrong there. So once you've gone through Google Earth and Maps, yeah, I know it's insane. I can I could talk about that all day, but I tried to be positive and then they fell off my boat. Ain't that the truth? So I tend to look for solutions instead of problems, although sometimes it can be damn hard. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I like this one, Chris. I never see you put, oops, lost your comment there. Look at your property from your neighbor's yard as well. Just ask permission first. Yeah. So definitely make friends with your neighbors, be at least friendly or on good terms with your neighbors so you can do that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right, because that could be one of those things that you could absolutely just take a minute and you get to see your whole yard from a different perspective. Yeah. So, man, you guys are just full. I'm not even going to get through my notes tonight. This is awesome. Joseph says, I have Blink cameras on my house, DeWalt security on my work trailer, and then carry at all times. So I watched your video ages ago on that DeWalt security system, Joseph, and I love that stuff. That's something I got to look into. Joseph, I'm going to talk about this a little later too, but he also did a video recently on the Apple AirTags, I think that's what they're called. I hope it is. Those things are incredible. They're like the best of both worlds. You know, they almost have enough coverage that you could call it a pure GPS tag, but they're still dependent on being around an iOS device. But I mean, when in the world are you not near some device that has iOS on it at this point? You know, so I think it's a really good, yeah. And Klondike says, serious though, lots of lights. Yes. Exterior illumination. I joke with my brother-in-law all the time that he has an exterior illumination addiction, especially come Christmas time. But yes, there is nothing better, nothing more of a deterrent than lighting up the backyard just to keep people, you know, honest and deterred for sure. Okay, so then I put, you know, the next thing, something that I haven't thought about or hadn't thought about in a while, but I may end up getting my brother-in-law to do this, is have someone from outside of your family. Of course, number one, somebody you trust, but have someone trustworthy also do an audit or a walk of your property. Because again, you guys know we become blind to things we see every single day. You know, something that you might trip over because you just haven't seen. It's just there all the time and you don't pay attention to it. But having someone from outside come in, they can walk around. I mean, they even, of course, there's entire industries on this where companies will come in and audit your house for security. But, you know, we don't need to spend that kind of money. But if you have a friend or, you know, even your local police detachment might be willing to do something like that for sure. Man, you must be reading my notes because you got all kinds of the same stuff I'm going to talk about. But practice. Can you get into your own house? Place big furniture in the way of windows. No straight lines of travel through the house. Outside, sticker bushes, holly, stinging nettles, raspberry. Oh, I love raspberries. Yes. No, you know, somewhere in between keto friendly and not, but as far as berries go, they're pretty good. And yes, the thicker, the better. We used to have blackberry bushes on the East Coast where I grew up that, I mean, sometimes the friggin' thorns on them would be bigger than the berries themselves. So yeah, any of that kind of stuff, you know, dual purpose, get some food off it, make it look pretty and deter people from getting in your windows. Absolutely. Now, I know, whoops. Oh man, we got all kinds up here. Chicken Hawk. Before we got our house and it was only the shop, I got 2 cellular trail cameras. They upload your phone over the phone service. Yeah. And Brian, you're absolutely right about the cops. I guess I was just thinking if you had absolutely nobody else around, and you're right. Yeah. And maybe you don't even want them around the outside of your property. You're correct there. Sometimes I get carried away and, you know, but so trail cameras. Yes, I have a customer I used to work for. They had a bunch of different C-cans, storage containers on their property, different family members. And I was mowing one day. I used to do a lot of mowing for them. And they had a security or a trail camera just sitting right there. And I noticed it. And so I asked them about it one day. They said, yeah, it's just a deterrent. You know, it's there just in case. And then one night they came home and it was broken into and someone had taken the game camera and slid it around to the back of the tree. So it had to have been an inside job because they knew about it. But they're a good deterrent. And I love anything that will automatically upload or send it to you because that's great. Chicken Hawk. I have cellular trail cameras in my shop, YouTube studio also. They work fantastic. And they weren't as expensive as I thought. I'm going to have to look into some of them too. Like I've got my security camera system here that automatically backs up to the PVR hard drive, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to have some of those. I'd like to have something out in my garage too, because I'm going to have to either extend the Wi-Fi or something to have a little better coverage because it's a ways from the house. Sorry guys, if I got to drink a little more tonight, but so have a plan in place. We talked about that a little bit. You guys mentioned it anyway, but I love it. Yeah. Have a plan in place and practice with the entire family. Signage, even if it's a fake, is a good one. Fake, yeah, I'll bring that one up too, Brian, from the Lots Project. Signage, absolutely. And again, reading through that old thread on Reddit, some of the cat burglars said signage was a huge deterrent. Other ones said they didn't care. So, I mean, some of them, I guess if they're druggy, but anything you can do to be at least slightly more of a deterrent, absolutely. Now, one other thing, you guys, I'm sure you think about this too, but security is only as good as the weakest link. And so, I mean, there's a ton of different areas, but in this case, I thought, you know, if you're doing a trial run with your family and that sort of thing, again, maybe at that time, take some time and mention to your kids, hey, there's certain things that we don't talk about. Daddy's gun collection, we don't talk about that. Whatever you could use 1,000 different examples, but again, just be like, security is as much, what was the old saying? Loose lips sink ships. So, and that can be on me too, because I love to talk sometimes. I know it's hard to believe, but I do. But, just make sure that the whole family knows, hey, some of this information you share, some of it you don't. You don't want people to know what you have. You don't want to end up, sitting down and advertising to people that, hey, I've got this stuff. Hey, John, nice to see you. Alarm signs, yes, will be shot. No. Yeah, that's a whole different. We even have some of them in Alberta. And I don't even know what kind of what kind of liability that might open you up to. I don't know anyway, but no stickers on the dang car. Ain't that the truth? Yep. Heard that many times. So now we all think situational awareness when we're in a restaurant, sit to the back of the corner so you can see the exits, have a good, area of egress, but situational awareness works for home security as well. Yes. There you go, Chris. See, Chris knows, but yeah, I'm going to bring this up. And I knew this would become a thing to talk about tonight, but so in Canada, you can't warn people about harm in Canada. Beware of dog, trespassers will be shot kind of stuff, because big issues here. And it is absolutely true. So we have a bare minimum ability to defend ourselves in Canada. And it is such a gray area, and there's a good chance you're going to be prosecuted no matter what you do, especially if there's lethal force involved. And if you have a hunting rifle or a hunting knife that you keep around and they can prove that you had it simply for self-defense, that can be enough to charge you with second or third degree murder or manslaughter. There's so much, and I'm not a lawyer, and I really don't want to wax eloquently on this stuff because I don't know a ton about it, but oh man, we open ourselves up to a lot of liability with that kind of stuff. So situational awareness, I guess, being aware of the most common situations that this kind of stuff can happen. Hunting, cricket bat. Yeah. So most break-ins happen during the day when, Joseph, I could get negative. I try not to. I really don't. But yeah, we have some really rough situations up here for that stuff that we have. You know what? It is what we live in. We have to deal with it. So yeah, Oklahoma is pretty great. So great they even made a song about Oklahoma, didn't they? But yeah, so most break-ins happen during the day while parents and kids are away. And in my hometown where I grew up, and I mean, it was a quaint little fishing town, for a few months, one spring and summer, we had a rash of daylight burglaries because people knew, hey, from say 9 to 11, nobody's home. People might be home from lunch, but from say 1 till 3 before the kids get home, and in my hometown, a lot of people absolutely would just leave their doors open. I mean, years ago, we went on a 1-week vacation and we left our damn door unlocked the whole time. Figured it would be easier than somebody breaking it in, but yes, a good lawyer on retention is a critical part of self-defense. So I belong to a local gun club, which we need to have. You need to have a membership too if you want to carry, or if you want to own handguns in Canada, not carry. But as part of my membership to the gun club, we have gun insurance and legal self-defense. So there's a lot of that involved, and insurance is a big part of home security as well, for a whole lot of stuff. Let's bring up little Klondike's comment here. My kids know to come to the master bedroom. They can steal whatever they want. Just don't come through that door. See, that is a simple plan. And, we've had a strong plan in place for fire, fire prevention. The girls kind of know what to do, where to go, how to deal with it. And I've mentioned to them before, basically the same type of thing on a break-in. Of course, we sleep on 2 different levels, makes it difficult. But this is definitely an area we need to up our game for sure, just so the kids have a better idea of it. Don't leave ladders, stools, or anything that can be climbed up. I mean, criminals are almost always, people of opportunity. And if they go by and again, reading, and I never thought about this, but second story windows are way more commonly left unlocked than first story. So say you have a deck box that they can climb up on, or a ladder. Again, look at anything that can be used, a trellis, for instance. Eliminate it, or make it so obvious and so out in the open that nobody's going to be dumb enough to want to climb up there in the middle of the night or during the day, Joseph's got his up here. Mine is remain in your rooms when anyone hits the front door, period. keep me a clear line of fire from my room to the front door, and stay down, right? Also, make sure, just know what kind of round you have. I mean, of course, a hollow point is hopefully, in theory, not going to over penetrate like a full metal jacket would, that kind of stuff. So, again, birdshot as opposed to maybe buckshot. Anyway, oh man, we could talk about guns all night. But as far as that goes, you just want to know how much penetration that you're going to have, or over penetration, because when you pull that trigger, you got to be responsible for wherever it goes from there. So another thing, again, and this is not perfect, but pay attention to what the thieves are doing in your area. So in my area, copper theft is huge. Across the street from where my wife's daycare is, there's a electrical shop, and he kept all of his scrap copper out there. Somebody broke in and stole it. People are, sliding underneath the vehicles and stealing the catalytic converters. 2008 and older GM trucks. I want to say it's 2008, might be older than that now, but whatever it is, the criminals around here have the technology to steal them very easily. They take them from the mechanic shops around here a ton, and ATMs are huge, right? The Lots Project, beanbag, birdshot, then buck, then slug, should be over by then. Yes, yeah, that is absolutely true. We have lights in Pappy, I'm going to bring that up there. We have lights in various parts of the house that turn on and off on random timers for additional deterrent. Yes, and I love that, because down further in my notes anyway, but I talked about, everybody recommends, if you're going to be away for a while, have a neighbor mow your lawn, pick up your mail, and have your lights on timers. And that's all good and well. But if it becomes predictable, you guys remember Home Alone when, which one was the short one? Anyway, he's sitting there and he's like, look, he says, look right now. And he's like, and he snaps his fingers and those lights come on, because criminals aren't stupid, and they watch for number one, patterns, and number two, things that happen that maybe don't necessarily make sense. But if you got your lights on a specific timer all the time and they're casing out the joint, it might be something they're going to check on. So again, you hate to have to get into this mindset of thinking like a criminal, but if we don't, it's like whack-a-mole. We just try to think one step ahead of them. It doesn't always happen. Situational awareness again. In my area, my entire town has back alleys. I love them. But again, they're not well lit. That's where most garages are. And this tends to be, about once every 12 months, we'll have people say, hey, guess what? We've been seeing so-and-so's truck or somebody's truck. We don't know what it is, but they'll give a description. Been going up and down the back alleys in the middle of the night. Or they'll go down for a while there, it was two people going down the back alley on a truck. One guy would hop out, look over the back fence, and then they would write it down. They'd keep track, and then they would send that information. We have kind of organized crime rings around here. They'd send that information to somebody else, and then they'd do a hit and go, right? So yeah, this is another one that I like. Pappy, I've been looking at Next Door, which I don't think we have in our area, but it is available, and it may be something that I will look at. But Pappy says we have a street Facebook page as well as community. It's amazing how fast suspicious activities are shared. And that is so true in small towns. And that's what I love, because everybody, you notice, like I just happen to know, like, actually it's kind of funny, but we literally only have one neighbor, including the back alley. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I guess 5. We have one more that the house is for sale. We just don't have a lot of people living right in our general area. And so I noticed a vehicle parked next to my neighbor's place, and that kind of stuff sticks out all the time. And that is one of the main reasons I keep Facebook. And we talked about it during the power outage communication video too, is the fact that Facebook is it's probably the single best way to get local information and be able to share it. To me, it's one of those things that is absolutely important, and it's a good way to share. So yes, Facebook page for that. Awesome. And a couple other things we noticed in this situational awareness, but of course, we're a big oil patch town. And when the oil was going, there was a lot of like out of the ordinary type people around, but everybody was so busy, they weren't really doing much. And as soon as the price of oil crashed, that of course people get hard up and desperate. And that's when the theft started getting worse. So again, no, and also be aware of certain times of the year. My wife and I have always said, Christmas time, people get really desperate. You know, it's unfortunate that we feel like we need to buy and purchase and we need to find the money to do it. And some people will do some crazy things to do it. And we also used to joke, but it's true. As the weather gets nicer, the ne'er-do-wells seem to be out and spending time on the roads and doing bad things. And so be aware, like, you know, and I'm not saying that all crime happens at Christmas or in the summer, but I'm a numbers guy. I love to go by the odds. And so just be a little more aware around the times of the year that, you know, theft is more rampant. And for us, Christmas and when the weather gets nice. Make your home less appealing. Don't leave shit in your backyard or out where people can see it. Leaving your garage door unlocked or worse, open. So you guys know I am very partial to my generators, and I'm going to tell you a dumbass story that I did a few years ago when we first moved into the house we lived in before we live here. I had a garage door that didn't open. The spring was busted, and so to lift it up, it took two of us, and I would get it up there, and I would leave it open all day. Well, I went to bed one night and forgot my damn garage door open with the light on in my garage all night. I woke up in the morning, and where my beautiful little Honda EU 2000 inverter generator set, all that was left was 4 little footprints in the dust where that generator used to sit. You know, those little rubber feet. Somebody was nice enough to walk in and walk out with it. But you know what? I mean, yeah, it's their fault. But honestly, it was mostly my fault because it was one of those things that I should never have done. And if you make something that enticable for it, oh, thanks, little. I appreciate that. You didn't have to do that, but thank you very much. Chicken Hawk, what did you say here? Let's check this out. Alexa will now turn your lights and TV on and off randomly and message you if it hears breaking glass. Oh, or a fire alarm, plus play a dog is barking sounds when you're away to tell it to. That's awesome. I love that. One other thing that I found that you can do is you can send a message to all the Alexas in a house or in a family group. At one time when all my kids were living in the city, I had it set up so that I could send a message to everyone all at once. Really cool. The sky's the limit with some of this Alexa stuff. And Chicken Hawk, we should sit down and have a chat about this sometime because I think there's a ton, like, you know, there's good and bad with everything, but some of these automation devices, we absolutely could spend a whole episode or a whole night of talking tools, talking about all the different ways we can use it for preparedness and for gardening and for, you know, home security. I love it. This is a great one, Pappy. And I am a perpetual garbage picker. Like I take people's stuff to the dump all the time. And whenever I'm out there, I'll be like, oh, look, somebody must have got a brand new DeWalt table saw because I love looking at the boxes. But you're right. Also, don't put boxes out for trash pickup until the day of. Don't advertise what you just purchased. Yeah, ain't that the truth? So, and if it's something really expensive or like gun boxes and stuff, break them up, fold them inside out. We're pretty lucky here. We have some of these nice big cardboard bins so you can take it all down, flat pack it, and slide it all in. But yeah, it's cool. Like, it's just, I don't know. And we like to talk about the things we buy and stuff, but yes, do not advertise through your garbage. And that's funny, hey, because you know, I hate to use the word crazy, but the thieves and that kind of thing, they're the ones who are going to be looking through your trash and say, oh yeah, so-and-so got a 65-inch flat screen plasma for Christmas. I'm coming there when they go to work tomorrow. Burned out light bulbs. Again, maybe I could have put this in the audit part, but take a minute, walk around, because again, we get what's blind to things. So you end up having, sorry, interrupt myself here, but Brian just put the Lots Project. Put the boxes from expensive stuff in your neighbor's trash. Yeah, you know what? That's one of them slightly shady life pro tips, but I like it. It works. But yeah, so burned out light bulbs, go around and replace them. Sometimes we just don't even think about it. Hidden keys, those are one of those things. You guys know I'm a huge fan of having extra keys. I think one of the biggest areas of preparedness that we overlook is not having extra keys to things. But in that instance, don't leave it in all, don't leave it in the potted plant. Don't leave it under your mat. Don't leave it up, on the drip cap of your door. All of those simple things, those areas that people are going to look really quick. Absolutely. Yes. I burn all my boxes. Chicken Hawk says, I burn all my boxes. Only my subscribers know about all my new toys. Very good idea. So if you got to hide a key somewhere, put it somewhere absolutely out of, we used to rent a cabin for a week every summer on a really nice, well, not a really nice lake, but on a lake when I was a kid, my parents would. And the people would leave the key on a little floaty, like a little buoy, and they hid it in the V of a certain tree in the yard. You never would have, it was a beautiful idea. It was hidden right out in the open that nobody ever would find. And yes, Klondike, again, don't post vacation pictures on social media. We'll bring that one up now. We'll talk about that now because that is a great one. And this is an area, well, I don't know. It shouldn't be a struggle. Me and the missus, we really love doing it. I mean, we tend to have people house sitting for us anyway. But yeah, this is one of those in the day and age we live in. It's true that the more you put online, the more you are opening yourself up to risk. I mean, we all love talking about the Kardashians, but I think it was Kim Kardashian not too long ago posted a picture of some jewelry she had while she was in Paris, and they hit her, and took her stuff. So yeah, it's true. Yes. Brian says, Chicken Hawk, I'll be hitting that subscribe button after this stream. Yes. If you guys don't follow Hawkins over in Chicken Hawk, take a minute and go over. I love his reviews. He's got a real good mix of stuff over there, and he's our resident solar expert. So John says, here we go. I like this one. Here's a good life pro tip, guys. John says, I like to look like the neighborhood hillbilly, so people are scared to come around me. Yep. I'm totally game with that. I love that too. Security through obscurity. Don't advertise. Well, we talked about this. Don't advertise expensive stuff. Don't make it look like you have something to hide. So it's a fine line. Number one, don't tell everybody about all the goodies and all the toys you went out and bought. But you also don't want to be that house in the neighborhood that has, 8-foot high security fence with barbed wire around it, state-of-the-art security system, motion sensor lasers, the whole works. Like, you got to be somewhere in between, because sometimes the best way to not look like, a mark or somebody that people want to steal from is to not look like you have anything to hide. And that's what we used to do at my uncle's hunting camp. The whole idea was we'd leave the door open, unlocked, because if we didn't, people would bust in anyway. And you'd leave a little bit of good stuff around and hide the other stuff where people wouldn't find it. So they'd think, hey, I found something good. And that was what it was. Absolutely. Yeah, light timers, have neighbors check your mail, cut your grass, all good. But like I said, remember Home Alone. Now, this one we've talked about a bit, but neighbors, really important to be friendly with your neighbors, even if you don't have many neighbors. But when we first moved in, not too long after when I installed my security system, the house to the south of us, cars on blocks for yard decoration. Yeah, that works, John. Absolutely. But I talked to my neighbors to the south of me. They have their house for sale. And I just wanted to mention, I was like, hey, we have security cameras. So if anything ever happens, I'm always looking anyway. But if it does, holler at me and I can probably go back through. And she's like, oh, well, as a matter of fact, we have security cameras as well. So just chatting with your neighbors can help you find out other things. So it might be like a blind spot you can't check, or maybe somebody snuck up the back alley and you didn't get them on the camera, but your neighbor's camera got them, So chatting like that, awesome. Neighborhood watch group, that's one of them. It can turn into something else you have to do every week by getting together and meeting. But even just having an informal, hey, chatting with Joe and Jim and Bob or whatever, and say, hey, did you guys see anything out of the ordinary? Or if you do, give me a holler. Like the old-fashioned prayer chains when I was a kid. They were as much about gossip as they were anything, but it was really effective. You had like 6 groups of 6 people, and one person called the leader of all 6 groups, and then they called everybody else. But that's kind of like the whole Facebook thing, Like we talked about, Don't advertise on social where you're going, how long you'll be gone, when you'll be getting home, all of that. We tend to, even if we do leave, we tend to have somebody living here looking out for the dogs. But yeah. And something else, always keep an eye out. So this is one of those, interesting story, but years ago when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I was really young. My aunt and uncle, they lived in they had neighbors on both sides of them, or on one side anyway. And there was an old church across the road that would hire, people who were trying to recover from whether it was drugs or jail time or anything like that. And yes, a text group with block. Yeah, I'll come back to that in a sec, Pat, because I was thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. So they would have people who'd recently gotten discharged from jail. And this one, slime ball, there's no other way to put it. He was not living anymore, but whatever. He sat there day in and day out, painting the church, watching their house, scoping them out to know when they were home or when they weren't home. And anyway, he broke in and was going to rob them, and they ended up being home. And his plan was to actually take them, tie them up, put them in bags, and throw them off the bridge. And the only thing that ended up saving them was they had they were renting out their basement to a young guy. I think it was a college student or something. He ended up getting out. This was long before cell phones. He snuck out of the house and had to run into town, which was like a 15-minute run to get them help. But, always keep an eye out. And you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. But my goodness, if you've got people who are rehabilitating in your area, just keep an eye on things. That's all. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but we're just going to call it the way it is. So just keep an eye out for anything that could be out of the ordinary or people that could be out of the ordinary. So Pappy says a text group with block for, so everybody on your block for quick responses and assistance. I think that's a great idea. And I might even try to implement that in the area. Just anything out of the ordinary, that's the type of thing. Somebody somewhere is going to abuse that, but it would be great to have that set up so that you could just instantly send a group text to everybody. Hey, seen this vehicle, or does anybody know why this vehicle's parked here, or anything go missing, or, that. And, that kind of thing works great. Say your, one of your dogs gets out or your cat's missing, that kind of stuff, right? Just simple little things. So then let's get down to like the hardware end of things. So windows, those tend to be some of the areas that, our ne'er-do-wells are looking to get in through or break. Something I saw quite a while ago, and I know there was someone in this community or on one of my social groups that actually had some experience with this stuff, but 3M makes some film that you can put on your windows. And I don't want to say it made them break proof, but it made them almost like the type of glass you would have in the windshield of a car. You could hit it with a hammer. You could, it wouldn't shatter. So it made it really, really difficult to ever get out of the frame or to be able to break and get through. It'd be a huge deterrent. I know it wasn't cheap, but I'd thought about getting it for our front door. Our front door had a big glass pane in it. So if you had a window or a door glass, a door light that would be really accessible or really appealing to a criminal, then it might be worth investing in some of this security film to put on the glass. Something else, if you're replacing your windows, something we used to sell at the hardware store, have them upgrade it with the in-frame flip-up window stops. So those are exactly what they say, but so you can flip them up or flip them down. So you can, if you want to, open up your windows for the entire way, but it allows you to open your windows to get a breeze, but for them to only open, say 4 to 6 inches. So, some thief or criminal or whatever can't get in through there. Something else I really liked. And one I hadn't thought of, but one that was pretty common. When you order your windows, you can get it with the low E argon gas, the low E coating and the argon gas. If you have window tint put on your windows, number one, it's going to make them more energy efficient. But number two, it's going to make it a lot harder for someone just walking by to look in and say, oh yeah, look at that nice gear they got in there. I'm going to come by later and break in and steal the stuff. So, tinting, I'm all about function stacking. And if you can have tinted windows that, make them cooler in the summer, make your house easier to keep cool, and also deter people from trying to look in, yeah, go for it. Now, doors. Number one, and this should go without saying, but if you guys ever remember that movie, was it Bowling for Columbine? Yeah. And Michael Moore went around in Canada and just randomly opened people's front doors. That's a pretty common thing here. I got to say, we still probably leave our doors open during the day, but at least at night, lock your damn doors, because a door, a lock's only as good as if you remember to engage it, right? So, yeah, Chris, let's see what he had to say here. I said, we put expel film on a window to test it. And when we broke it, the whole window came out and didn't leave shards and things to cut themselves on. I'd rather have that. Fair enough. Now, just out of curiosity, did you have to hit it a few times, or did one single wallop take it right out of there? Because I'd be happy if, you had to hit it 6 or 8 times for the whole thing to remove. But if that's the case, if it still came out in one single piece, well, then to me, that's just an expensive upgrade and an unnecessary one for sure. Yeah. So this is one that we picked up a while ago. We spent a little bit of money on, but again, Paul Harrell, if you guys follow him on YouTube, he talks about, I think it's the idea of forced compliance, or, basically, again, if you're going to be a concealed carry, you need to have something that's comfortable for you to carry, or you need to make something easy for you to implement. And for us, we have a hell of a time remembering to take our keys with us, or, we also didn't want the kids to lose the key. So we had the push button locks put in on our back door so that all the kids could have their own combination. And we were way more likely to lock the door when we left, because we knew when we got home that we could just put in a 4-digit code and we'd be all set. John says, here we go. This is something, I put a gate on the driveway of a vacation home. They got robbed when they had the gate locked. Yes, you see, there's all, and that's the thing. I'll touch on at the end, like, no matter what you do, there's still a chance that something's going to happen. So it is what it is. You got to go with the odds and try to determine. So let's see. So yeah, Chris asked, we hit it with a brick and grabbed the edges and pulled the whole thing out. So in that instance, I don't know. It's a tough one. Like, maybe I'll have to pick some of that up and do a video on it, because I'd love to do some tests. But yeah, if you can get it out that easy, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not worth the upgrade. I'm not sure. It'd be fun to play with, that's for sure. And most of you have probably heard, but look at your hinges, and the factory hinges that are installed in the door frames, they have like 5/8 to maybe 3/4 of an inch of a screw. So go around and at least take out one of every one of those hinges and replace them with a friggin' 3.5 or a 4-inch screw that goes right into the door frame, right into the 2x4s that are there. Going to make a huge difference. Then go on the other side with the strike plates, take those out and reinforce them with screws as well. That's a really cheap, inexpensive way. And now there's also a few other things. You can buy extendable strike plates, something that will span from your doorknob up to your deadbolt, so it's all one piece. That helps reinforce it. And then there's some really cool kits that does that, and it reinforces the entire hinge side of your door. I can't remember exactly how long it was. Yeah, so anyway, it makes it way more difficult to kick in. So I got a couple more comments here, guys. So Hawkins here, Chicken Hawk says, yes, the code locks make me lock the door more often because I never have to worry about forgetting my keys. Yes. So anytime you can make security that much easier, how much more important is that? I want to say it's forced compliance. I don't even know if that is exactly the right term, but the whole idea is making it as easy as possible to do the security. And yeah, that's exactly it. If all I have to do is push a button when I leave and put in a 4-digit code when I come back, how much greater is that? How much easier is that than remembering or forgetting your keys, right? And yeah, I saw Brian did this. I haven't watched it yet. He says, I just did a video about a hitch lock, just a deterrent. If they're willing to cut it off, they're willing to do more. Absolutely. And I've even seen where people will just, with the hinge lock on, hook up the breakaway chains, wrap a chain around it, and drive off anyway. And that is the case. But yes, a hinge lock is just one more deterrent, because if you've got two trailers side by side and one's got a hitch lock on it and the other one doesn't, guaranteed 99 times out of 100, they're going to take the one without the hitch lock. So yes. And Pappy says, very quick to do as well, the screw upgrade. Absolutely. And it's cheap. I mean, how cheap? You go to the hardware store and ask them, say, hey, I would like 6 4-inch screws. And they're going to look at you funny and say, well, I'll sell you half a pound. And then you come home and replace every screw on all your hinges, your strike plates and everything. And it's super cheap. A couple other things. Sorry, guys. Interior locks. So like the ones that you have like the security chains, or the ones that you see in the hotels, kind of those slide over locks, something that can only be unlocked from the inside. There's even one-sided deadbolts that show flat wood on the outside and just a lockable deadbolt on the inside. Those are really cool as well. Flip up door stops. I've seen these used quite a bit as deterrence or protection, which is almost a sin, but for school shootings, they have those flip up things that make doors almost impossible to kick down. And I thought they would be really good. Yeah. So Chris says, let's bring this up here. We put code locks on all of our doors. My wife wasn't sold until I came home early one day. She was out in the backyard with the door open. I took her car and her purse. Now she uses them religiously. Oh boy, I would probably be sleeping on the couch for a couple nights if I did that, but that's okay. I like it. And here, John has one. Most people don't lock the door from the garage to the house. Garage doors are easy to get in with a clothes hanger. Yeah, you are correct there. And you know, that is kind of funny because I'm not sure in the States if it's the same way. And if Joseph's still here, he might be able to tell us too. But in Canada, garage doors have to be self-closing. So if it's already going to be self-closing, you could put one of those doors on there that automatically lock if you wanted to. I mean, that might not be the greatest idea either, but you know, if the door is going to close on you already, maybe it would be something simple you could do. But yeah, and you're absolutely right on that. Oh, hey, Ted, how are you, buddy? Hadn't seen you yet tonight. Must be getting late on the East Coast. And another one, you guys know that I go in and secure foreclosed bank property sometimes. And I have to drill out locks, and some of the cheap locks I can drill out in under a minute and have the door open with, you know, very little noise. But I did one recently that took me probably a half an hour, and it was like grade 2. I can't remember which way the numbers go, but you can order heavier duty, higher grade, and higher security door locks. Simply a lot more difficult to beat off. They're the type that if you knock the doorknob off, the latch just doesn't automatically open. Everything inside is reinforced or stainless steel, the type of stuff that is a lot harder to drill out and takes a lot more. You're going to end up getting noticed a lot easier trying to drill into one of those than if it's just a Walmart special or an Amazon Basics, you know. Landscaping, give some thought to landscaping. We talked about this a little bit, but keep well, okay, there's a couple of ways to look at this. Number one, keep trees and bushes trimmed back so that there's less area for concealment. Absolutely, yes. But also we talked about thorny and difficult to climb on bushes under windows can help as well. In my area, something that is super popular are those little, like kind of ground crawling cedar trees. And they are like something out of a Stephen King novel. You try to walk on them and it's like it wants to swallow up your feet. Like it makes it really impossible. So, putting some thought into, okay, I've got a really beautiful, really accessible window here. I'm going to take a minute and I'm going to put, well, not a minute, but, down the road, I'm going to put in some nice landscaping here that, number one, looks nice, but number two, makes it more difficult to climb in or more painful to climb in. Yes. Okay. And Brian says, yes, this is absolutely true as well. Going back to inexpensive hardware, learning to pick inexpensive locks is so much easier than a quality lock. Yes. You just got to watch Lock Picking Lawyer for, one of his 3-minute videos. And he makes everything look easy, but yeah, absolutely. And again, the inexpensive ones, just a little tiny bump tool or a little vibrator, that kind of stuff made out of an electric toothbrush, all of that, everything about an inexpensive lock is easier to get into. So yes, absolutely. In the most part, it pays to buy quality. And you might even need to go, because you're not going to go to Walmart and buy a grade 2 or higher security lock. You might get something, just barely better at Home Depot. But in this instance, you're probably better off going to your local lock shop or locksmith and saying, hey, I'd love to buy a commercial grade lock. And normally commercial grades start at like level 2 and up, or forget which way the numbers go, but just look for something that's made out of better material, higher quality, better than your basic entry-level residential locks. It'll make a big difference for you. And one other thing, Ted used to make the he says he used to make the lock. Sorry. And one other thing, when I designed my backyard, I had the option. I thought about putting a gate on the front side, on the road side, and I ended up deciding, you know what, it's a little more inconvenient, but I only put a single gate on my back fence. So I have one going out into the alley where my garage is because I had to, but I decided I'm not going to put one at the front because that's one more area that someone could end up just being tempted to come through that gate during the day, at the night, whatever. So when I designed my fence around our yard to make it safer for the dogs and also just for security, I made the mental choice to only put that one main gate in there. And you know what? Like I said, if I got to walk around a little bit on occasion, I'm okay with that. My next section, I titled it Lights, Cameras, and Dogs. And because I really didn't have a better, term for it, but I don't think you can ever have enough lights. We've talked about that a bunch tonight, but lights on timers, lights on random timers, lights on motion sensors, lights on dawn to dusk timers. Just again, when you're doing your audit, your security audit for the house, take a few minutes, go around and say, and do it again at nighttime too, and say, okay, well, I've got this spot here that's absolutely dark. Now I have my security cameras. I have a security system set up, and it works really well. And I have it set up so that I've had my family or my son get him to walk around the house, and I don't have a blind spot. So when they leave one camera, they're already in the next camera and the next camera, and they work really, really well, and the night vision works really well. However, one of my cameras is too close to the vinyl siding, and the vinyl siding is a lot lighter color. I don't know exactly, but the night vision on it seems to reflect off there, and it washes out everything else. So I need to make some adjustments, because all I end up getting is this big, what do you want to call it? Like shine off there. But yes. And sorry, Joseph, I should have said not self-locking, just self-shutting. All garage doors up here have to have a self-closer on them. But I thought, a self-locking might be kind of a cool upgrade, although it might be a pain in the ass for you too every time you go out, right? But thinking about it, I don't know anyone that I've worked for where I've seen one actually. People just count on the garage door opener holding it open. Yes. So, like I said, I love my security cameras, and I probably go on them 10 or 15 times a day. If the dogs bark within 10 seconds, I can have a feed up on my iPhone that shows me 4 of my 5 cameras, because that's all it fits on the iPhone at one time. And I can know just like that. Oh, okay. I just need to know who's here. All right. It's the Amazon guy, or, it's the wife coming home, or, hey, there's somebody walking over around my garage. It's time to go out. The other day I seen the dogs barked. I went outside and there was 4 teenagers in my driveway. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. They were just there because they were worried about my cat, who has no tail and was missing a leg. However, you never really know. Years ago, when my wife and I don't even think we were married yet, and the dog barked, and it was dark, and we used to live on this old back country road, and I went to the back door. Something told me to turn the light on, and I did, and there was a guy standing right in my doorway. And I think I scared the shit out of him, because I was just in my boxers, big old burly gorilla of a man, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was coming back. We had a call center. He was driving in the back road. Anyway, his story was that he ran out of gas, and he was just coming. He was just about to knock on the door to see if I had any gas. I thought, and I was too trusting back then. Nowadays, I'd have told him to, pound sand, but I give him, it was late at night, I give him a jerry can full of gas. I said, listen, go up to your car, put it in your car, and just come back and put the empty jerry can back in front of my garage. Well, I never seen my jerry can again. And I'm sure he had plenty of gas. I think he was just scoping the place out. But yeah. Chris says, oh, wait, here, let's go to Brian first. He says, no limit on lights, no limit on cameras, but 3 100-pound dogs is the limit for me. Yeah, well, 4 or 5 to 6 pound dogs is the limit for me. Yeah, I get it. Like the cost, I mean, they're absolutely a companion, and I can just imagine what the cost to feed 3 100-pound dogs is. But yes, you're right. Yeah, there needs to be a limit. And Chris says, any man door between a garage and a house has to have a self-closing mechanism of some sort. The garage door itself doesn't matter. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I think, and it has to have a weather seal around it too. I assume that has to do with infiltration of carbon monoxide and that kind of stuff. But yeah, that absolutely. We talked about game cameras earlier there. Hawkins mentioned the cellular versions of them. Those are great. Again, we talked about dogs, but some guys said that small yappy dogs were worse. Some of the old cat burglars said the big dogs were worse, but I think either way, a dog is a deterrent. If something's going to make noise, if there's a chance they're going to get bit or attacked. And like you guys said, they're an early warning sign for us, because, they hear things that I'll be sitting in the living room in the middle, watching TV or something. And all of a sudden one of them will get up and go out the back door through the dog door and be like, barking all hell because you think they're going to kill somebody. And all it was the neighbor's cat coming through the yard. But, at least they heard something. So, all right. We talked completely about security and what to do to prevent a theft. However, like we said, the best plans of mice and men can still go, afoul or astray or whatever. And sometimes no matter what you do, something's going to get stolen. And so what do you do? Well, number one, I have been looking at GPS trackers for my generator. There's some really nice ones on the market, but the problem is they require a bare minimum, something like a $15 a month subscription. I really don't want that. I don't think, to me, spending an extra $15 a month on the chance that I'm going to lose a generator or something. But anyway, so GPS trackers, they come with a really good battery life and a strong magnet that can hide up inside. So it is something like the old low jack, I think they called it, but it allows you to track your items around if you need to. Let's see what Brian says before we go any further. He says, we have a trip beam at the end of our long driveway that rings a doorbell in the house, battery operated and wireless. And I love that idea. Of course, we always lived in the country, and that kind of thing would have been huge for us. But of course, now we live in the town by choice. But yes, that is great. Joseph says, no yappers here, just silence, and a 9mm. Is that a socket? Or so what would a 9mm be in Freedom units? So that would be 9mm. Would that be about a third of an inch? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yappy dogs and then the pump for 12 gauge make a guy think twice in the dark. Absolutely. Invest in a cheap engraver or one of those stamp kits that you can, that you stamp into metal with a hammer or whatever. Did not talk about insurance a whole lot yet, Hawkins, but you're absolutely right. So, and actually that is the very next point I have up here. So after you engrave everything, because the cops can come back to you and say, hey, is this your generator? But if you have no way to prove it's yours, they're just going to say, sorry, we're going to sell it at the cop auction and buy yourself some more whatever, right? Anyway, so I got this tip from my insurance guy a few years back, but I've now done it a couple of times. Do a walk around, either video or pictures. My Freedom units are rubbing off on you. Ain't that the truth, Joseph? But yeah, so do a walk around of your entire property, get a full video of everything that you own, and then save it to a USB, encode it, encrypt it, and then upload it to a Google Drive, whatever it is, but have proof of what you own, because that is the best way to keep an insurance company from saying, we don't believe you, is to have video proof of everything you owned, and then document all of the serial numbers, model numbers, anything you can write down. Yeah. 9mm close to a 0.38. Yes, very true. Now it's reading like some of those IKEA instructions for assembling things, where they take the metric and then turn it into what they think the imperial should be, and you're like, really, what is this? What is 0.4 of an inch? I just don't understand. But anyway, yeah. But yeah, do a walk around video of everything. Have proof that you have it. And you know what? mine's about 2 years old. I'm due for another one because I like to get tools and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, make sure you keep it up to date because again, yeah, ain't that the truth, Ted? And we kind of talked about it, but like I said, in Canada, last line of defense is absolutely firearms. But even though we're entitled to self-defense up here, we still, and without getting too much into it, we're still kind of innocent until you're proven, guilty until you're proven innocent. You basically are going to go to court and you're going to spend a lot of money and you're probably going to lose your reputation, but have good insurance for that exact thing. And like you guys said, keep legal counsel or have access to legal counsel. So Chris says, let's see right here. And this is a cool tip. I have GPS trackers on our vehicles, toys, and trailers, and we take video every 6 months and we save a bunch on house insurance. Well, I'm going to have to look into that. Actually, Chris, if you have a recommendation for the GPS trackers, either if you can throw it into the comments here or send it to me afterwards, because I am seriously looking for one. I want to do a review on it and I want to test some of them out because to me, that is anyway, I absolutely need something like that. And Ted says, yes, you guys do. You guys love to rub this in, don't you? But no, I'm just kidding. We have the stand your ground law in Florida. Somebody comes close to your property that you don't want, you can dispatch them. So absolutely. Yeah, it's a whole nother thing up here. But so something I wanted to, I guess, mention or talk about at this point is, sorry, excuse me. If I was in Canada, I'd have a guy with a backhoe and speed downs. Yeah, well, we've talked about that. Alberta is as close to Texas as you're going to find in Canada. And I guess what we would call our premier, which is the head of the province, I think your states would be maybe governors. Anyway, shoot, I can't think of his name right now, but his favorite saying was shoot, shovel, and shut up. So we're definitely as country folk as they come in Canada. And I always love that saying, shoot, shovel, and shut up. That might be your best security, right? And so when I was putting all of this together, one of the things I found a ton of were all the contradictions. You'd read, so some people would say use security signs. Other people say it's not a deterrent at all. Then some people would say you got to have a deadbolt. And other people say, I can kick through a deadbolt. And, some people say big dogs are the cat's ass. And other people say small dogs are the cat's ass. And it didn't matter what you wanted to do. Somebody would shit on it and say, you know what? Don't bother. Well, what I can tell you is two things. No matter what, the more exposed a criminal is, the less likely they're going to break in. And the longer it takes them to try to break in, the better the chance is they're going to give up. And when it absolutely, going on a t-shirt. See this, I forget what you said last week. I'm going to have to do all these t-shirts, but anyway, so people are going to say this doesn't work. That doesn't work. But what I can promise you won't work is not doing a damn thing. And we can always say, deterrent is deterrent. And you can always, you'll always know that one person that says, well, my aunt smoked until she was 95 and she never got lung cancer. Well, they're the exception that proves the rule, right? And it's the same with security. You can say, well, look at this guy. He lived in an entire enclosed, nuclear proof house and everything. And somebody still broke in. Well, yeah, they did. But if you do absolutely nothing, you are going to prepping since Y2K. Yeah, see, thank you very much. I got to remember these now. Oh boy, we're going to have quite the Teespring shop after a while. But if you don't do anything at all, you're definitely not doing anything to improve your security chances. So I don't know. That's the way I feel. And like I said, I love reading those Reddit comment threads where they get old cat burglars in there and they'll be like, or these clickbait articles will be like, read these 10 things that this cat burglar did, and then you'll know how to secure your house. Well, yeah. And then I read the next one and half of what they said would contradict what the other one said. Some people would say I'd never break a window during the daytime. Other people would say I'd always break a window during the daytime. So when it comes down to it, there's no guarantees in life, but doing nothing absolutely is worse than doing something. Chris says we used to have a sign in our front drive that says we have 150 acres and 2 solid alibis. Yeah, yeah, ain't that the truth? And that's an Alberta mindset for sure. But yeah. So man, I just love doing these live streams, guys. I enjoy it. This has been a lot of fun. I don't know if the voice sounds a lot worse, but it's certainly not what it was, that's for sure. So I think that's about all I was going to share on security tonight. If you guys have other tips, throw them up there while I'm still chatting away, but I had a couple of announcements, just things I wanted to share with you guys. Since the first thing was I'm booking out. I'm looking to do a guest or two. Oh, we got a bunch of things on the go, but for the Talking Tools live stream, I'd love to have a live guest every second week for sure. I'm going to have the missus back on. Better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Yeah, I like that one too. I think next week, me and the missus are going to talk about Amazon subscriptions and building our preps. I really like that. It's something she's real passionate about too. But I'm booking a schedule out to the end of November, and I'm looking for probably 2, maybe 3 more guests. So if you guys got something you want to share, great. Or if you have suggestions for other people that you think, hey, Tim, this person will fit in here really well, you can, message me in the comments here or go over to the website and fill out the form. Doesn't matter, but whatever you want to do. Now, something else, this is going back to our emergency communication. So I don't know if this will affect anybody at all or not, but some people like to keep the old little flip phones or like an old not expired, but say an old cell phone they haven't used in a lot of years, and they just keep that as, say, their emergency phone. They keep a few prepaid minutes on it. And maybe you guys know this, but January 1st of 2022 in the US, 2G, which probably isn't a big deal, but 3G is going to be shut down. So if you're one of those people that end up having, an old phone kicking around, it's your backup emergency phone in your car, it might be time to get that upgraded, because if all you got is like an old Nokia flip phone that only runs on 3G, it's not going to be any good come January 1st this year. So I thought that maybe it would, maybe be something somebody needs. And I was going to get Ted on to talk about how, yes, that is an awesome one. So could we call that a TED Talk if we get Ted on here to talk? Oh boy, that's a dad joke if they ever hit one. And I had this in my notes and I already said it, but I'm going to congrats Joseph again, 5,000 subs. That is friggin' incredible. Toot our own horn here, but by the end of this month, we should hit 2,500 on the workshop. So that's rather exciting too. And if you're still here, you guys keep an eye out tomorrow. Actually, it's going to be lots of the Lots project recently. Hey, Ken, I hadn't seen you. I wondered what you're up to tonight. So let's see. All right, hang on. I'm going to bring this up here. Ken says, we have a piece of 1/2-inch steel at our gate, almost a half a mile away. It has 3 50 BMG holes in it. And below that is a reminder you're in range. I love that. Yeah. So Brian is going to be our community member spotlight tomorrow. So you guys make sure you tune in and check that out. It's really cool. He shares his favorite tool and talks a little bit about their thing. And I'm sure I can, let the cat out of the bag. He's going to be coming on in a couple of weeks and talking about RV living and all of that and some of the cool stuff he's been doing with that. So, it was a spotlight in the community, in the newsletter, going to be tomorrow, the community member spotlight. And then we're going to have him on here right away. So lots of the Lots project. And I might have mentioned this last week, but I watched a really cool video with his wife doing off-grid laundry. More work than I'd like to do, but no, it was really, really neat. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow too, guys. Oh man, I would love to sit in here and chat all night, but I don't think I've got much left in my voice, guys. So I think if you guys are okay with it, I think I'm going to end it here. We'll be back next week, 7:00. Before I forget, 7:00 is going to be our go-to time from now on. Absolutely. Probably not the best. Oh, okay. Chris says his stuff is spy tech. So, and I think we're talking about the GPS coordinator. Not the best thing, but recognized by insurance. Doesn't have to be the best thing. I'm okay with testing out some different stuff, so we'll check it out. But man, we had a good crowd in here tonight, guys. Thank you so much. And like I said, anyway, doesn't matter. Just this old voice of mine is going to go away. So we'll call her quits for tonight. next week, if you guys are hanging around, we'll stick around a little bit longer and chat away. But guys, I say it all the time. You guys could spend your time anywhere, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me here in the workshop. I love it. So anyway, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy. Have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Saturday morning, which means it's time for another installment of the weekend workshop where we talk about all things preparedness, backup power, emergency power, all that kind of cool stuff, different products that I'd like to review, things that I'd like to share with you so that you're a little bit more prepared. And this week's episode, edition, whatever you want to call it, came out of my AMA. I did an AMA with Float recently. If you guys haven't checked out Float, it's flote.app. I have almost 1,000 followers over there. I love that social platform. They're incredible. They're a free speech platform with a couple. The founding couple are incredible. Aaron and Kingsley are over there, and they'll help you with anything. Anyway, they asked me to do a text-based interview where people could ask me questions. And this one come from one of our Filipino community members. And they wanted to know, they had a friend who has a store and is looking at the possibility of a diesel generator and wanted to know the benefits of looking at a diesel generator. So I thought I'd share with you guys the top 8 reasons why a diesel generator is better than gas and 4 reasons why it isn't. All right, guys, real quick, if you're new here, and if you're not and you know the routine, you want to know more about me, toolmantim.co. Run by there, you'll see all my social presences, Float, MeWe, Instagram, Facebook, the works, the monthly newsletter, the weekly podcast, and the shop where I've got over 100 products showcased, stuff that I've used in my handyman business that have solved problems for me, that have made me money or saved me money. Lots of cool different categories over there: household, painting, hand tools, and preparedness items. So run by, check it out. If there's anything you like there and you pick it up, I always make a small commission off that to help support the content I make. So thank you guys. All right, so like I said, this week, man, it's rarely a month goes by that I don't do a generator video. You guys know I'm passionate about backup power. I'm passionate about being prepared. I would be a self-proclaimed prepper. Love to make sure that my family is going to be taken care of when the power goes out or something worse happens to happen. Let's hope it never does, but here we are. So like I said, I got asked, Tim, what do you know about diesel generators? What do you think about them? Should I get one? Is it worth it? And I spent a little bit of time racking my brain, putting some thoughts down on paper to share, and I thought, man, after I've done this, this would make a really good video. So I thought, hey, let's start with the 8 reasons diesel could be considered better than a gasoline generator. So the first one is diesel is significantly less flammable than gas. You might think, well, that's kind of an odd reason. But so number one, say you want to be under the radar. You don't want people to know that you've got a really big stockpile of fuel on hand. And of course, you also want to be safe, because being prepared means being safe. And so you want to keep a 100-gallon tank full of fuel on hand. There's a better chance that gas can become flammable, explode, the whole works than diesel can. So all things being equal, keeping a larger amount of diesel on hand is much safer for you than gas. And if you look into it, some places won't let you store gas legally, right? But they will diesel or fuel oil, just simply because, well, look, a lot of places on the East Coast where I grew up actually heated their house with furnace oil, which is just another version of diesel. And they'd keep 200-gallon tanks in their basement. Much safer. So if you're looking at a safer storage option for fuel, diesel is the way to go. Now, number 2, one of the things that everybody loves about a diesel engine, they require way less maintenance. No spark plugs, no carburetor, just a whole lot less moving parts with diesel. I can't tell you the exact number of gas parts versus diesel parts, but you know how it is. A diesel engine is made to last longer, needs less routine maintenance, the whole works. So if you're looking at something that requires less time, less parts on hand, less points of failure in a generator, then you might just consider a diesel generator, simply because, hey, I know that they just won't have to do as much work with it. Now here's another one, going back to fuel. Diesel has a much longer fuel storage life. If you take a 5-gallon can of gas and you set it on a shelf, and a 5-gallon can of diesel and set it on the same shelf, in 6 months, without any stabilizer, there's a good chance your gas is going to go already or start to turn. And you should get close to a year out of diesel. So if you have no access to fuel stabilizer whatsoever, and you just want the longest life storage that you can find in a fuel, diesel is better. And then of course, if you add fuel stabilizer to it, you're going to get even longer. But all things being equal, side by side, you should get twice the storage life out of diesel over gas. And to me, I love set it and forget it kind of systems. You know, my security systems, my crack key lettuce growing operation, my worms, once I can set them up and basically forget about it, that's great. And how great would it be to be able to only have to rotate your gas half as often as you would, your fuel, your diesel, half as often as you would with your gas. To me, that's almost enough of a selling point right there. Number 4, and there's a reason that they haul all of our goods across country by diesel, and that's simply because the fuel economy is so much better. You get a lot better miles per gallon, run time per gallon out of diesel than you do the same amount of gas. So again, if storage space is a commodity, if you don't have a lot of space to store whatever fuel source you need, then why not store the one that you get the most runtime out of the same amount of space? Again, the 5-gallon gas analogy. You got a 5-gallon can of gasoline, a 5-gallon can of diesel, you're going to get significantly more runtime out of that diesel than you are out of the gas. So say you're, well, I guess an apartment, not necessarily, but say all you have is a small little shed to store things in, and say you've only got room for 2 5-gallon cans of fuel. Well, are you going to go gasoline or diesel? If that's the only decision that you have to make, then diesel's going to be your choice in this instance. Number 6, diesel engines are made to run under load for long periods of time. Gas engines will as well, but again, I love that, you know, if you compared a diesel engine to a gas engine, diesel engines are made to run hot and long and hard. So if you have if you're looking for something that maybe is or isn't close to a whole home backup generator, it may still be portable, but you're looking for something that is going to allow you to run for, especially if your area is prone to hurricanes or long-term power outages, and you need something that's going to be a workhorse, because most gas generators, you know, they don't recommend you to run them more than 2, 3 to 4 days before you shut them down. So, if you live in an area that sometimes it can be up to a week with a power outage, a diesel is definitely something to look at. They're just made to run and run under full load all the time. And of course, with a gas engine, the harder you run them, the longer you run them, the hotter they get, the harder it is on them. And to a lesser extent, that's true with diesel as well, but to a much, much lesser extent. So again, if you're looking for something you can run for a long period of time, like for a business, like a coffee shop in the Philippines, for instance, something that's going to be on day in and day out for maybe a month at a time or whatever, then you might consider looking at a diesel generator. Here's an interesting one that I didn't know till I started researching on this video. So number 7, diesels tend to run quieter. Now I hear everybody screaming, stop typing, don't type. I haven't finished my thought yet. Diesel generators tend to run quieter under load. So if you take a gas engine and a diesel engine side by side and put the same amount of load on them, the diesel generator is going to run at a lower RPM and hence a slightly lower decibel level than its comparable gas counterpart. And I thought, that's really cool. I had no idea, because everybody always complains about the damn diesels and how much they smell and how loud they are. And you know what? Idling, yes. Idling side by side. So if you're going to be doing a lot of idling with no load, which I don't know why you would want to idle a generator with no load for hours on end, but if you are, go get a gas generator. But if you're going to run it under load, and sound is important. Now, I mean, yes, you can get a fully enclosed inverter generator as well, but a diesel generator running under load is going to run at lower RPMs and a lower sound level than its counterpart in a gas. Something I learned, and I hope you enjoyed that too. The prepper in me, this is probably the best one that I love. So I got asked the other day in the Atlantis Gazette Instagram Live interview, I got asked it. They said, what is the one area of preps that people overlook the most? And without even skipping a beat, I said, it's fuel. I'll tell you a story. I had a family member who went to go get a generator, or had a generator. Power went out, had less than 5 gallons of fuel on hand. So what did they do? They dumped that in their generator. They put their 5-gallon gas can in the back of their truck, and they drove 20 miles and sat in line for quite some time, hours I guess, waiting to get gas. And when they got to the gas tank, they allowed them one single 5-gallon gas jug full of gas. That was the limit they had on at the time. So they burnt more fuel going up there, sitting and coming back than they actually would have if they'd have just stayed at home and siphoned the gas out of their vehicle. So what's really cool about diesel is when there's a power outage, and if you're slack and you forgot, and I didn't stock up like I should have, or I put a bunch of the diesel in my truck and I never refilled it or whatever. So in a pinch, in a bad situation, it's going to be easier to find diesel at the gas stations, at the fuel stations, than it is to find gas, because everybody and their dog is going to be out filling up their gas for their Honda EU 2000i or what their, Firman, Trifuel, whatever they happen to have. Everybody's going to be out looking for gas or propane, and you're going to be one of the few with a diesel generator driving around thinking, I might have been dumb enough not to fill my gas cans, my diesel cans early on, but I'm still lucky enough that I can go and get it right now because everybody wants gas. So I think, to me, that's a really cool, sometimes thinking outside the box, right? And I love the idea of a diesel generator. I don't have one personally, but I love playing this game. Last month or the month before, it was, why should I pick a smaller generator? Well, I don't have a smaller generator. I mean, I do, but my big one is a big generator. But people all come from different ways of life, and they need to know, hey, maybe there are different options. Just because, Tim, you love your Firman Trifuel generator doesn't mean that might be right for me. So I thought we'd play this game of, look at the diesel, why might it work for you? And to me, the one reason, probably the biggest selling point of all of them, is simply the fact that there's a really good chance when the shit hits the fan, speaking, and you need to get out there and you need to find fuel for your generator, there's a lot better chance there's going to be diesel in those underground tanks for a lot longer than there is gas, because everybody's looking for gas for their household generators, but not a lot of people need diesel. So I thought, again, we'll get into the 4 reasons why you might not want a diesel generator, or why they're not as good as a gas, in a minute. But I thought I'd run down 4 brands, because one of the reasons I don't want to get into a whole lot quite yet, but there are less brands available on the market. But the 4 main ones that I was able to find online, and they come fairly highly recommended. And the first one, of course, Generac, their XD series. They have a series of diesel generators, and I love Generac generators. They make really good standby whole home generators, the whole works, nice stuff. But if you're looking for a diesel, they seem to be one of the best ones on the market. And a few others are the Duro Star DS series, the Gillette brand, and Pulsar. They all make portable, and I use that term loosely, diesel generators that you can look up. So I'll throw a link in the description below for the Generac ones, and you can Google the rest of them. And I also have a comparison chart of the top 4 diesel generators on the market. I'll throw that in there for you as well. So the 4 reasons that you might not want to buy a diesel generator. If cost is a reason, the fuel is more expensive. Now, I don't know if it was just where I grew up, but on the East Coast in Canada, when I was younger, diesel used to be less per liter than gas was. And I don't know when it changed. And if you guys remember it that way too, diesel being less per gallon than gas, maybe I'm misremembering something, but I'm sure it was. But I looked back through the last decade on charts online to make sure, and overall, like 5% more. Anyway, diesel. So if you're storing diesel on the shelf, not figuring anything else out, 5 gallons of diesel is going to cost you a little more than 5 gallons of gas. So that can be, hopefully it's not a no-starter, non-starter for you, but that can be an issue. Cost is always an issue. And if you're looking at stockpiling 60 gallons in 12 5-gallon gas jugs, or 100 gallons in a 100-gallon gas can, then that is going to add up just a little bit. So again, a little bit more expensive for the fuel. This one is a killer. The diesel generators overall tend to be a lot heavier than the gas. I looked at the 4 main ones on that chart, and they all tended to be like double the weight of their comparable gas counterparts. Most of them were in like the 300, 350, and one was close to 400 pounds. My Firman, it takes my wife everything that we can do, my wife and I, to lift it. It's just around 200 pounds. I can't imagine having a generator twice that weight. They're all called portable, and I use air quotes very strongly here because the only thing that makes them portable is the fact they have wheels on them. There's nothing else that makes them portable, because a 400-pound generator, even if they have a well-balanced wheel and handle kit, man, you're not going to want to pick that thing up and move it anywhere. So you might as well count on the diesel being almost a stationary generator. Number 3, another reason that you may not want to pick a diesel generator is there's a hell of a lot less selection out there on the market. They're a lot harder to find. You got to do a lot more research. You might even have to travel a little bit to find one you like. Amazon does seem to have some, but just overall, you may have a harder time finding a generator that has the features you're looking for, because, you know, there's probably 10 brands of gas generators or 20 brands for every one diesel there is out there. So if selection's a big deal to you and you want to be able to price compare and shop around, diesel's not going to cut it for you. And of course, the diesel generators themselves, number 4, are more money as well. So if you're looking at, something in the 5,000 to 6,000 watt range, you're going to pay significantly more, 50% and up more for a diesel generator. So they are a premium product. It's like buying a diesel truck. You pay more for that long life motor with a little bit better mileage and the whole works. So again, if upfront cost is a bigger deal to you, then you might look at gasoline. So really, when it comes down to it, who is a diesel generator for? I mean, it can be for anybody, absolutely. But if you're looking for a long life motor, you have long power outages, or you need to run a generator for long, uninterrupted periods of time, a diesel generator might be what you're looking for. If you have a generator, if you're looking for a generator that is basically stationary and that in an absolute pinch, 2 of you could push it up a ramp onto a truck and you could drive away with it, and maybe you want to call it portable and you might need it once in your life to be able to move it somewhere, then that might be the way to go. Like for this little coffee shop over in the Philippines, I think a diesel would be awesome, simply because it's something they're going to need day in and day out to run their business. Would a whole house standby generator hardwired in the whole works be better? Sure, but that might not be in the budget or in the cards. So if you're looking for something that'll run long time, durable, and under load, then a diesel might be the way to go, especially if you had a big storage tank on hand and you could get it delivered by truck. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I always love talking about generators. This was a fun one because it involved a little bit of research on my part, stuff I knew ahead of time, but things I wanted to maybe learn and gather a little more intel, just so I could make sure that I was forthright and as full of information and BS. No, I'm just kidding. As full as information as I could be for you guys. So now, if any of you guys have diesel generators out there, I'd love to hear about it. The only one I ever sold was the King Canada ones, and they're pretty generic, but they had a huge kind of iron or steel shroud around them. They were heavy, built with tiny little wheels for a great big generator, but they ran. And, I heard good things from my customers, but I'd love to hear back from you guys. And if you guys have any thoughts, you're like, Tim, you're out to lunch, diesel's absolute trash, don't waste your time, your money, anything on it, let me know. I'd love to hear that too. And if you're new to the community, introduce yourself, throw your comment in the description below. And if you have knowledge to share with us, man, share it, because I love hearing from you guys. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop, where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Monday morning, which means it's time for another money-making minute. And this week, like always, I've got a good installment for you. Hurricane season has been on the go. We've got cold weather already here for me, and the rest of you, well, you can enjoy what's left of your summer / fall / whatever you end up getting. But there's nothing worse than in the cold weather or in an emergency, a battery not working when you need it to. Whether it's your generator that pulls so hard that there's no way you're going to start it without a battery assist, whether it's your snowblower in the middle of a storm, whether it could even be a vehicle, something. Anyway, the most important aspect to that is making sure it's charged. You guys have heard me talk about battery maintainers, trickle chargers, whatever. We're going to show you this week how I install one to have it set up permanently on my generator. Alright guys, real quick before we dive in, if you're new here, want to know more about me, toolmantim.co. Run by there, you'll see the monthly newsletter, the weekly podcast, all my social media links, and the shop. A special section where I have Amazon links to well over 100 products that have made me money or saved me money in my handyman business. Solutions to all kinds of problems. We got household, we have hand tools, we have DeWalt cordless tools, and the most important section is our preparedness section. So run by there, check that out if you're interested in knowing some of the products that I use. And anything you purchase, a small percentage of that will go to help support this channel and the content I create. Okay, so you guys saw me review this trickle charger a month or two back, and I thought, hey, I've been putting off putting this trickle charger on. It's time that I show you guys how to do it. It's not difficult, but honestly, I figured I would do this video, so it forced me to install my trickle charger, and hopefully you guys learned something on the way. So let's set up over here by the generator. We'll get this hooked up, and I'll be right back. So this is the battery that comes on a lot of electric start generators. Right there, just in case you're wondering, this Firman Trifuel, that has a battery disconnect, which you can absolutely disconnect if you want. Comes from the factory that way. Had a guy message me the other day, couldn't figure out how to get his electric start to start because that wasn't connected. Anyway, I digress. So in the package, what are you going to get? You're going to get the trickle charger. That's this guy right here with a nice long cable. This you're going to hold on to. Then, what I love about a trickle charger is that it comes with the ability to use it to dual use. So, the one we're going to use on this generator, this is the permanent installation. Nice little protection cap right there. But, I'll show you, just give me a second. We've got two terminal rings right there that we're going to install permanently down here on the battery. This is the wire that's going to stay permanent on the generator. However, you also come with this set of temporary ones. So that say this is good. Say you're worried about a small item, I don't know, maybe a four-wheeler that you're worried that's going to drain and you need it in a month and you just want to make sure it's topped up. Well, you can leave this part attached to the generator. This is the meat of the product right here. Take that with you and use this temporary one to hook up over on the quad for a month. Then you can come back and make sure this is topped up and plugged in. So I like, for the inexpensiveness of it, you almost get two, or at least you can make the use of two. So what do we need to do? Oh, one other thing to show you right quick is an inline fuse right there. Always have a couple extra ones of them on hand. That's a 3 amp. Good to have just in case you end up shorting something out. If too much juice goes through, that'll just blow. So that's it. Red to red and black to black. Yeah, all right. So all you really need is a screwdriver and a set of pliers. We're going to loosen the two bolts on the generator battery. This guy, we're going to come out like this. Always helps to have the screwdriver heading in the right direction if it's a ratcheting one. And that is all there is to that. It also helps to have tiny fingers. My fat sausage fingers make everything more difficult when you're dealing with small hardware, just in case you're wondering. Okay, almost there. And that is that. So, first one's off. I like to do it one at a time because if you don't, you end up running into trouble. I end up unhooking something that I shouldn't. See? And then there goes my fat fingers. Flip that over. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a thick way. Make sure the thick way is sticking out like that. There you go. Might as well tighten this guy up while we're at it. If it was a bigger nut, I'd use a much bigger set of pliers, but needle nose pliers will work. You can adjust this guy up if you want, or down, doesn't really matter. We'll tuck him in like that. And the same with the black one here. And Bob's your uncle. Whoever has an Uncle Bob, they're kind of lucky. All right, And then there's the black one. We're going to hook that in just like this. I know this is simple, but a lot of people just have never seen it done or thought about it. And there's not much to it. Just make sure you tighten it down. And then we're going to keep that guy out of the way. Try to put your little battery hoods back on. They can be a bit of a pain once you get them there. Push that guy all the way up in, out of the way. And then what I like to do is bring it out somewhere around here and put a little bit of electrical tape or a zip tie. I like electrical tape because it's less permanent, but it also doesn't cut into the wire as much on vibration. That's it. Leave yourself just enough room that you can plug that in, but not too long that it ends up getting you vibrating, rattling, and breaking. So there's that. Put the cap on to keep it clean. How do you use this guy? Pretty simple. I'm not going to unload that whole thing right now, but it's just there's only one way you can hook that up. Hook that up nice and sturdy. Then it's going to tell you if it's charging or if it's charged. It's going to tell you if it's below. If you can see that, I'll bring it in close here. So it's going to show you if you get it hooked up wrong. You can set it to 12 volt or 6 volt. It's going to tell you if it's above 50%, below 50%, and it's going to tell you whether it's charging or not charging, 1.5 amps. So I hope that helps, guys. I wanted to do this. It was a 5-minute project, but it needed to be done. So I thought, hey, why not come and show you guys along the way? So I hope you enjoyed that. Anybody have any different brands or types you use? I'd love to hear about it. Throw them in the comments below. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Good morning, guys. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Tuesday morning, which means it's time for another edition of Toolbox Tuesday. And this week, I have got one of my absolute favorite products that I've probably never, I don't know if I've ever mentioned on this channel before. However, I did do a post on social media not too long ago, and I said if there is one plumbing fitting that you can keep on hand for an emergency, that would be a SHARKBITE 1/2-inch coupling. I still stand by that. However, somebody corrected me and said, why not keep a valve? Because it does everything that a coupling does. However, it also can shut off the water. So I thought, hey, you're right. Absolutely. So today I want to share with you what I know and why I love the SHARKBITE fittings. Guys, real quick before we dive into the content of this week's review, if you don't know who I am or want to know more about me, toolmantim.co. Run by there, you'll see the monthly newsletter, the weekly podcast, all of my social links including Float, MeWe, YouTube, Odyssey, Instagram, Facebook, and of course here. And you'll find the shop where I have well over 100 products listed there that I've used that have made me money or saved me money in my handyman business. Hand tools, power tools, painting tools, landscaping, and preparedness items. So run by there if you're looking for a recommendation. Anything you buy goes, a portion of that help to support the content I create, which I appreciate. All right, guys, like I said, there's nothing better than being prepared for an emergency, and there's nothing more expensive than needing to call a plumber, and especially a plumber after hours or on the weekend, or heaven help you, on the weekend after hours. A lot of times there's stuff you can fix. Now, confession time, I've never learned how to solder copper pipe. It's like I never learned how to drive a standard till I was like 34 because my parents got rid of the standard and there just weren't many standards around. That's the way it's been for me. I never really learned how to plumb until there was options much more convenient for homeowners and DIYers than learning how to nearly burn your house down or at least keep the pipe dry while you try to get the solder in there. I do remember a time before SHARKBITE fittings. When I first started working at the hardware store, we had push and turns and acorn fittings. The push and turns were white. You turn them down, they had like these silver teeth in them. They were an absolute piece of crap. Then came the Acorn fittings. They were basically the same thing, but made out of a heavier duty, maybe PVC or ABS gray plastic. I really liked them. They ended up getting sued. They had some sort of lawsuit because they were starting to fail after a little bit of time. And so they went by the wayside as well. And as they were starting to phase out, these started to come in. And these little brass things, if you've never used a SHARKBITE fitting, you got to give these guys a shot. The first time I seen them, I said, there is literally no way they work that well. You pop them in, they're done. So let me show you exactly how simple this is. If you guys have never used PEX pipe and SHARKBITE fittings, you're absolutely going to love this. There's so many benefits to using these. Now, if you're going to plumb an entire house, buy yourself a crimping tool, some rings, and some bulk packs of PEX fittings, because that's going to be way cheaper. But if you're not planning on doing that, you're looking at just doing, just having a few fittings on hand for an emergency, then keep a few SHARKBITE fittings. These are about $8 a piece, so they're not cheap. But when you see, well, anything's cheap compared to getting a plumber called out in the middle of the night. So if you have a pinhole leak and you need to fix it, and you don't have, say, magic wrap tape or something like that, but you want to be able to cut it out and fix it on the spot, this sucker right here does it. So first off, if your entire house is plumbed in PEX, I got to show you how slick this is. If you've never used these before, you ready for this? So the PEX just goes in there like that. Done. That's it. Waterproof. It pushes in. Once it latches into place with those teeth, you have a watertight seal around that O-ring. You do the same on the other side. And then, done. Just like that. That's all there is to it. Now, that's one thing. So, say you got a PEX pipe that's got a leak in it. Cut it out, pop it in there. Great. Now, but you're like, Tim, the problem is I don't have PEX, or I have some PEX and I have some copper. So the first thing you're going to want to do, oh, did I mention these are 100% reusable? Right there. So now it's snapped into place completely watertight. Nothing can come apart. So you're going to take that little removal tool. You're going to slide it down to the little lip right there. You're going to pull down on it and you're going to pop that back out. And then you're going to say, but Tim, I have copper. And I know this is a cheap little piece of copper, but it's all I could find today. And then you just go like that. And now you have copper on one side, PEX on the other. Or if you have copper pipe and you just want to cut out a pinhole and pop copper in both sides, you are done. So if you've never used these, this stuff, they're incredible. They come in all fittings. If you only have to have one on hand, probably a valve or just a 1/2 inch coupler. Then get yourself a 3/4 inch coupler, like I said, a couple of valves, and then some caps. So worst case scenario, say you got a pipe that you just can't repair, you don't have all the pieces on hand, cut the sucker off, cap it off. Now, something else that I love about these SHARKBITE fittings, I used to know a plumber that he said you could go in and say you go into an old house and you need to install a shutoff. There's copper there, but whoever installed it never put a main shutoff in the house. So the only way to put a main in is to cut into the line and let the water flow. So what you can do in that instance is take your SHARKBITE coupling, or your valve, sorry, leave it in the open position, put it over the water, snap it into place, shut it off. You are done. You might get a little bit wet. It's not going to take very long. I've used these for nearly a decade, no, actually more than, man, I'm getting old. More than a decade now, and they have worked. I've never had one fail. I've seen PEX crimps fail when they weren't spaced or sized properly or crimped properly, but as far as these go, and I know some people, not a huge fan of them, but I love them. Just discovered something researching for this video. You can even direct bury these now. Some people might think, oh my God. Anyway, they come, you can get a special silicone wrap that you wrap around the entire fitting, and then you are good to go. Direct bury and done. So the company, the SHARKBITE fitting company, absolutely stands by their product. So if you're looking for cheap insurance to keep you out of trouble and to keep you out of having to spend way too much money on a plumber, or you just want to try your hand at fixing a couple of old pinhole leaks in your house, whatever it happens to be, keep some of these SHARKBITE fittings on hand. One other thing I didn't mention, they work with PEX and copper, both thicknesses of copper, but they also work with CPVC. So if you happen to have that old stuff that looks like small PVC fittings that was all glued together, it'll work for that too. It's incredible. I love it. I've heard some people say they find they restrict the flow, but I don't see how, because the fitting goes on the outside of the pipe and you can look through and you've got 100%. There's no restriction there. I love them. You wouldn't want to plumb an entire house, like I said, because it would get rather expensive. But boy, can they ever get you out of a bind and save you some time. I'll put some links to the stuff on Amazon that I use, but I just keep a small supply of these on hand most of the time when I haven't used them in an emergency, just to get me out of a bad bind. I have a rule: I never plumb on Sundays, because all the plumbing shops and hardware stores here in my town are closed on Sundays, and I invariably, if I start a job, I'm going to need something new. So guys, if you have any other suggestions, if you've had horror stories with these, if you love them, share in the comments below and let me know what you think about it. Or if you've got something else that you say, Tim, believe it or not, there's something even better than these SHARKBITEs. Let me know about those. And if you're new, introduce yourself, let us know who you are, share your knowledge in the comments below. And guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Hey guys, Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's Wednesday morning, which means it's time for another edition of Tool Time Gear Review. And this week, I've got a wonderful one for you. I got an unboxing of a product that doesn't come in a box. I figured it was time that I showed off my new toy. I want to talk to you about this beast of a machine that looks massive and huge based on the perspective of the camera I have here. But today I want to give you my initial thoughts on my STHIL, or STHIL depending on how you pronounce it, BR800C. Guys, real quick, if you're new here, don't know who I am, want to know more about me, right there, toolmantim.co. You'll find the monthly newsletter, weekly podcast, social links, and the shop where I have well over 100 products recommended that I've used in my handyman business that have made me money or saved me money. We got a ton of categories: hand tools, cordless DeWalt gear, landscaping, painting, and my favorite, preparedness gear. So run by there, check that out. Anything you pick up, a small commission goes to help support the content I create. So thanks, guys. This is the beast, the BR800C. This is the one that I've had my eye on for a couple of years. Kind of like a little kid looking at a puppy dog in the window of a pet store. I really wanted it. I didn't last year. I stuck with my BR600s. I figured it was, I could get 2 full winters out of them, no problems at all. And it was time to upgrade to something even more powerful. So I finally pulled the trigger, went up and picked up one of these, and I'm going to get a second one next month, just before snow starts. There's 2 of us that do the blowing, and then I like to keep one for a backup, and that'll be one of my 2 old ones. So what are my initial thoughts on this? Well, first off, it has an MSRP of $900 Canadian, so it's not cheap. By the time you add a little bit of tax onto that, we're right up near 1G. So it's an investment. It's a tool. This thing will pay for itself. What do I like about it? Well, when I first picked it up, they warned me. They said, it's heavy. I thought, well, okay. The other one was heavy too. I put this on, and honestly, it's bigger. It is a little heavier, but it feels more balanced. I just love the way it fits on my back. There's one feature that totally blew me out of the water. I hope it lasts long term and works really well. But this right here is the pull cord. This is the starter right here. And once you start it once, it's warm enough. This has some sort of clutch system in it. You can start it with it on its back. Any backpack blower with it on your back. Any backpack blower I've ever used before, you always have to, if you turn it off, you got to set it down, prime it, pump it, pull it, start it. And so we would leave it running all morning while we were going from house to house. This is going to be great. I hope it doesn't wear out. It feels different. I'm just not used to it. It feels like that start assist, if you've ever used those on like the steel weed whippers and stuff. It's nice. It just doesn't feel right. You want to come onto it, but you're actually, have you ever watched Steve's Small Engine Saloon? He actually says pulling too hard on those can hurt them. They're actually designed to be pulled fairly lightly. So I want to show you guys, let's compare this guy right here. And this thing is as big as it looks, I gotta say. This is my BR600 right here. A little bit smaller, not a ton. So what are the comparisons? So if you guys have used, well, let me back up real quick. So back in the day when I first started running my snow removal business, I had a plastic wood-handled snow shovel I bought for $2 at a yard sale. The thing worked well, made me a ton of money that first winter. Just into the second winter, my wife's like, honey, you need to upgrade. You're going to kill yourself. So she found somebody selling a brand new in-the-box Poulan backpack blower. The thing could barely blow out a candle, but it was sure an improvement from a shovel, let's put it that way. And then halfway through, no, the end of that winter, so my third winter, it was time to buy my STHIL BR600. It was around $550 at the time. I bought 2 of them, never looked back. Ran them for 2 winters, love them. They've worked great. See that little tape there? That's reflective because we're out in the dark all the time. So differences right away. If you're looking at upgrading, or if you're thinking, man, do I really want to spend the $900 on this? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I'm not sure. What do I like about it? Well, it's got a bigger overall discharge for air. I like that. It has that quick start. This is where the pull cord was before. You'd have to be awfully flexible to pull that with it on your back. As far as the actual breakdown, this weighs 25.8 pounds, the 800 does. This guy is 21.6 pounds, a difference of 4.2 pounds, about a 20% increase. So, you know, I don't know, it doesn't feel that much. Maybe after 2-3 hours of trudging around in heavy snow it will, but a 20% increase in weight is nothing to shake a stick at. You're gonna feel it after a while. So it is a little heavier, but it's taller too, so it seems to sit up a little better on your shoulders. Honestly, with a full tank of gas, to me, it doesn't feel any heavier. That I like about it so far. Heavier straps, I like that. What else do we have? Oh, let me show you this feature right here. We got to turn this guy around. So this is really neat. It has an adjustable. So if you're really short, really close to the ground, and you don't want that sticking out all the way, great. But what I like about this is it's going to make it a lot more compact for storage. That's one of the worst things about these guys is these great big long nozzles are always sticking out no matter how you try to hang them. So I like this, that it's a little compact, and it's a beast. I love it. We're going to see. I think it's going to hold up really well. So as far as how much power improvement there is in the 800 over the 600. I got to read these stats to you. I can't memorize all this. So CFM, if you guys know, cubic feet per minute, same way they measure bathroom fan, exhaust fans, that kind of stuff. CFM, the 600 max out at 677 at the nozzle. This guy, 912, 35% increase. So for a 20% increase in weight, I'm getting a 35% increase in blowing capacity, or sorry, blowing power, which excites me to no end because I love this. It works really, really well, but this is going to work so much better and make my job just a little bit faster. Anything that makes me a little more efficient can make us a little more money, can get me home and drinking coffee a little bit faster, makes me happy. The power of the blowers, and they're rated in newtons. The 600 tops out at 32, the 800 tops out at 41, making it a full 1/3 more powerful in newtons as well. So they managed to only increase the size and weight by 20%, but air and power capacity by 30 to 35%. To me, that's really exciting. They must have made some real neat changes in here. They put the word MAGNUM on it. I don't know what that means. Bigger, better, stronger? I don't know. So according to the technical charts, here's the other thing. When the day comes that they bring out a battery-powered backpack blower that will run for a few hours, has as much power as one of these STHILs, and can handle the -40 Alberta winter cold weather, I will switch because I hate mixed gas, I hate sucking in these fumes, I hate the noise, and unfortunately these are really starting to get an anti-environmental sentiment to them, and that makes me sad because these are a safety tool that we use in our area big time. But I will be, you guys know, you follow me, the minute that DeWalt or Milwaukee or Ryobi comes out with something that is comparable enough and strong enough, because there's nothing on the market yet, I have looked, I will switch because there's nothing worse than dealing with all of this and the noise. Now, The one other concern I have about these, of course, is, we can only start at 6 o'clock in the morning here, which is early enough. And I still, even though I can start at 6, I don't want to wake people up if I can help it. This guy's 75 decibels. We still had a couple of complaints about it. Can't do much about it. This one is 78, so you're going to say, Tim, that's only 3 decibels more. However, like I explained in my sound decibel monitor review recently, if you didn't know, the decibel scale is a logarithmic scale. Got it on the second try that time. So that basically is like grading on a curve. And if you go up every 3 points, you go up on the decibel scale, means you've actually doubled the loudness. So in theory, this guy's supposed to be twice as loud. Now, I didn't seem to think that it was. It doesn't feel like it is. So we're going to test. We're going to take it out on the back cement pad here. It's dark out, but you'll still be able to read the backlight on the decibel meter. We're going to give this a shot, and we're going to see which one of the two, well, how much of a difference there really is in the loudness. Now, it's not a completely fair comparison. This guy's been running for a couple of years, so there's a good chance it might be just a little bit louder. But I would like to know, this brand new out of the box, how it compares with loudness to this guy that I've been using for a couple of years now, because it is tough on your ears too. So hang in there. We'll go out, set this up, give it a shot, record it. We'll come back in, close up the video. Okay, so that was rather fun. I don't know how scientific that honestly was, because that other one has been rode hard and put away wet for a long time. However, it's good to know that this guy out of the box is actually running a little bit quieter than what they said. So I'm okay with that. I really found this was rather quiet, which to me, I can live with. I'm absolutely, the noise is an issue. It honestly is, and I hate it. I hate that I have to deal with it, but that was a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I wanted to take a look at the features, what sold me on this, because I really haven't used it a whole lot yet. I used it out in my driveway to clean all the leaves and debris up that's collected there so far this fall. It works stellar for that. What else have I used it? Oh, I took it and I went out, I had to mow an acreage that had a lot of really thick grass piled up around the house. This did a wonderful job, a much better job even than the 600 would have, blowing that away from the house. So that's the extent of my use so far. Let's get a month of this. Well, the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to be rather busy for me. We'll be doing yard cleanup, so we'll be doing a lot of leaf blowing. And then I'll get a month of snow blowing under, and I'll come back and give you a recap on how much I love this, because I know I'm going to. My buddy in town who also runs a snow removal business, he's had a couple of these for a while. The town's had a couple. I've had my eye on them. It was time to upgrade. I'm excited. I'm like a kid at Christmas getting to play with my new toys. So I hope you enjoyed this early look at the STHIL BR800C. I can't wait to come back and report back to you. I really hope it's as good as I expect, because so far, so good. And if you guys have a brand you like, or maybe you found something in the battery realm that might work for me, I'd love to hear. So share it in the comments below. If you're new, hit the subscribe button, stick around, introduce yourself in the comments. And you know, guys, I always love hanging out with you in the evenings. I know I always say morning at the beginning of the video, but this one was an evening shoot. I enjoyed it. I love you guys hanging out with me here in the workshop because I know you can spend your time anywhere you want. So thank you for that, guys. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week. Thanks again, guys, for dropping by the weekly workshop. A new edition drops every week, so keep an eye out. And if you're looking for a solution to such problems as I spilled paint on vinyl siding, or I can't get this heavy picture to stay on the wall, stop by toolmantim.co and check out the Today's Tool section, where I share products and tools that have either made me money or saved me money personally or in my long-running year-round handyman business. And if you found value in this content, please take a moment and share it on your social platform of choice. And as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.